Hello and welcome to the Tennessee Informer. I'm your host, Dave Vance. We have two guests tonight, both from the SCC, which is the State Executive Committee, and both running to be delegates for Trump. We have Tess Robbins from here in Paris and Terri Nicholson from Wilson County. But first, if you have an announcement from a conservative organization that you like announced on this show, please send information to tninformer.tv@gmail.com the Friday before the show. If you want our state to step up and push back on our overreaching, often unconstitutional federal government, visit tncss.weebly.com and learn more about the legislation we hope to get passed this session that creates multiple processes for nullifying unconstitutional federal actions. The Chris Ann Hall event sponsored by TNCSS this past Saturday turned out great. We had approximately 120 people, including several legislators, Janice Bowling among them, one of the sponsors of the nullification bill. If you ever get a chance to hear Chris Ann speak, you want to do it. I'll tell you that right now. You won't be disappointed and you will learn something. We'll let you know when this legislation is in committee, but for now, please ask your legislators to support HB 2795 by Representative Bud Halsey and SB 2775 by Senator Bowling. Ask your family and friends to do the same. Before we get to our guests, let's look again at our state constitution and give an update on some legislation. I like to start with the focus on the Declaration of Rights. I know that I've used these slides for the last couple of weeks, but I think it's worthwhile to reinforce these points, especially during session. You have to know your rights to defend them. If you are not instructing your state legislators on important issues, they're still being instructed by feckless state leaders, the Chamber of Commerce, numerous lobbyists, and other well-heeled scum that roam the halls of the Capitol. Article 1, Declaration of Rights, Section 1. All power is inherent in the people, and all free governments are founded on their authority and instituted for their peace, safety, and happiness. For the advancement of those ends, they have at all times an unalienable and indefeasible right to alter, reform, or abolish the government in such manner as they think proper. Section 2. That government being instituted for the common benefit, the doctrine of non-resistance against arbitrary power and oppression is absurd, slavish, and destructive of the good and happiness of mankind. Now, I'm going to read a couple more than I have been reading because it's going to tie into some of the legislation we're going to talk about. That all men have a natural and indivisible right to worship Almighty God according to the dictates of their own conscience. That no man can of right be compelled to attend, erect, or support any place of worship or to maintain any minister against his consent. That no human authority can in any case whatever control or interfere with the rights of conscience, and that no preference shall ever be given by law to any religious establishment or mode of worship. Section 8, that no man shall be taken or imprisoned or disseized of his freehold, liberties, or privileges, or outlawed or exiled, or in any manner destroyed or deprived of his life, liberty, or property, but by the judgment of his peers or the law of the land. Article 11, Miscellaneous Provisions, Section 16. The Declaration of Rights hereto prefixed is declared to be part of the Constitution of the state and shall never be violated on any pretense whatever. And to guard against transgression of the high powers we have delegated, we declare that everything in the Bill of Rights contained is accepted out of the general powers of the government and shall forever remain inviolate. Article 3, Executive Department, Section 10. He, meaning the governor, shall take care that the laws be faithfully executed. That includes all the laws that I just talked about in Article 1. Remember this as we talk about the first bill in the update. All right, during the scamdemic, Governor Lee and many others violated their oath to the state constitution. Think about a couple that I just mentioned, Article 3, Section 3, Section 8. One of the most egregious violations was declaring some occupations as non-essential. Now, I'm going to talk about HB 0694 by Representative Fritz and SB 0574 by Senator Pody. I had a conversation last week and earlier this week to include yesterday, or a text conversation with Representative Fritz. In this bill, if you look on the state website, it's basically didn't go anywhere after last year, but he told me this week that it should be in committee next week. He's not sure of the date. He's not positive yet of the committee, but he is continuing to push for this bill. And this bill basically says, as introduced, prohibits a person, political subdivision, or public official in connection with a state emergency from categorizing or proclaiming by order, rule, or regulation that a lawful occupation is non-essential, or otherwise proclaiming by order, rule, or regulation that a lawful occupation is prevented from operating based on what the lawful occupation is, specifies that a person harmed by a violation of the prohibition may bring a civil action for actual damages or declaratory relief. So this is in reaction to what happened during the scamdemic, the actions the governor took and the action that some county mayors took and other officials. I think we all remember that, and we should all still be mad about it. The bill, according to the people I'm talking to, is under attack by the executive branch and others. So they did this to us in 2020, 21, and 21. And it looks like they want to retain the power to continue to do this for any future emergencies, even though it's a blatant violation of our Declaration of Rights in Article 1 in our Constitution. So as soon as I know when this bill is scheduled, I'll get the word out to you, but be looking for it. House Bill 0694 by Representative Fritz and Senate Bill 0574 by Senator Pody. Because another emergency is somewhere down the road, probably in 2024 since it's an election year. So call your rep and your senator now and tell them to support this legislation. As soon as we have information on the committee, I'll get that out to you. All right, House Bill 2190, it's also by Representative Fritz, authorizes the governor to deploy a brigade-sized elements to Texas for up to 1 year in accordance with Article 3, Section 5 of the Tennessee Constitution. And it will be in the House Government Committee on February 28th. I'm all for helping out Texas because every state's a border state now. The more we can keep from coming in the country, the better. Obviously, our federal government's not going to do it. Our federal government is leading this invasion. So I think this is something we have to do. But what I like about this is that Representative Fritz is making sure that the governor does this in accordance with the law, okay? Not just willy-nilly on his own. It does have time limits on how long they can be deployed. So we'll see how that goes in the House State Subcommittee on the 28th. All right, Senate Bill 904 by Senator Stevens is the constitutional amendment to stop state infringement on the right to bear arms. Now, this bill is going to be heard in the House. The House version is House Bill 0038 by Representative Reedy, and it's going to be on the calendar at the end of session. But Senator Stevens has not scheduled this yet, okay? We've encouraged him to schedule this, but he hasn't scheduled it yet. So you need to call his office at 651-741-4576 and tell him to schedule the bill. I can't adequately cover all the pending legislation, good, bad, or in an hour, or even 2 hours. Just understand we're being attacked on every front. I do recommend the following links. For anything having to do with House Bill 2795 and Senate Bill 2775, that's the nullification legislation, I recommend tncss.weebly.com and sign up for the Substack letter as well. For all Second Amendment related bills, I recommend TennesseeFirearms.com. No surprise there. For legislation covering a variety of topics, I recommend Tennessee Eagle Forum and TennesseeStands.org. All right, now to our guests, Tess Robbins and Terri Nicholson, both Christian conservatives and constitutionally minded members of the SEC, that's the State Executive Committee of the Republican Party in Tennessee, and both of them are candidates to be Trump delegates. Thank you both for being with us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Dave.
Yeah. I've known you both for a while. Terri, I think I've known you at least 10 years, and Tess, I've known you about 6 years. And, you know, when I say somebody is conservative and constitutionally minded, I mean that, okay? So I definitely can vouch for both of them as far as that goes. But let's hear a little bit about your background. We'll start with you, Terri.
Well, I obviously am a member of the SEC, Tennessee GOP. I have been the former Wilson County chairman before that, served on the Tennessee Federation of Republican Women, vice chair, just so many, different positions on the CEC, our county executive committee in Wilson County. We used to have my very first term on the SEC. I had Cannon, Clay, DeKalb, Macon, Smith, and Wilson counties that myself and Jerry Beavers covered. He is my counterpart on the SEC. And then after the redistricting, we have now all of Wilson County and a portion of Davidson County. So we're real busy doing that. But my background is solidly conservative, never wavered in any of my votes or principles that we try to work through. So.
And I'd say in the urban areas that Wilson County is by far the most conservative county in and around Nashville.
Yeah, the primaries really helped that. When we instituted primaries, a lot of the county commissioner, school board, a lot of your local government, they were very scared of that. They, tried their best to get us not to do it. But we basically said, hey, all we're doing is giving the voters, the people that live in Wilson County, the opportunity to learn who's going to represent them. And you have the opportunity. You could either choose to run as a Republican. You don't have to. You could stay as an independent. And so they would say, well, what happens if a Republican runs against me? I said, that's called an election. So that is how and they, it went just fine. Like you said, Dave, we're very conservative, and our county commission, we were able to flip the county commission and have enough members. 23 out of 25 are Republican, and our school board is out of 7 members, 5 vote Republican. Now, having said that, there are also some more conservative members that will be primarying some of them. So it's an interesting time, a lot of fun time in Wilson County, and trying our best to continue our fight for liberty, freedom, and the Constitution.
All right. And Tess?
Well, I'm also on the Tennessee GOP Executive Committee, and for District 24, Ryan Elligood is my co-partner on that, and he's from Obion County. I've been the chair here in Henry County several times. I'm the vice chair now. I had to step down to become to be able to be a delegate. Right. We had a caucus Saturday, this past Saturday, and we have had more Republicans that are running. For like the road board commission, we're going to have a property assessor the first time. We'll be having another caucus coming up. We have our mayor, John Penn Ridgway, is resigning, and it's going to be all about the timing when we have a caucus to replace him or to have a Republican candidate. And, John Penn's done a really good job. But his love is for the Vo-Tech school, and a position came up for him to take that. And, Henry County had a lot of, you might say, hypothetical bombs going off. We have problems with the hospital, finance problems. The county buildings are in really bad shape. But this was all ongoing pre-John Penn. Okay, right. He's done a lot for the county, and we've had several Republicans elected with me being the chair. I've had a really good run with executive committee members, Art Smith, Randy Geiger. Jim Poe has been on there. We have Ricky Wade. But we're looking to get up our first mayor, Republican mayor. And we're hoping that we're going to have a property assessor as Republican. So these are conservative people. They're very good. Randy Geiger is a West Point graduate. Yep. He worked at the Pentagon. He's just such a good, he lives a righteous life, and so I am committed to be a delegate for Trump, and where Terri is at large across the whole state. I'm in the District 8 congressional district, so where she's competing against 20-something other people. And can I say this? If you don't know the person, don't vote for him. It says you can vote for 14 at large, but don't do that. If you know one good person on there, vote that one person. Right. Because this is a very important time. When we go to the convention, we'll be deciding the platform for the Republican Party. And on mine, on the congressional district, I have 6, and I'm on the bottom, very bottom of that. But I know that people are saying that when they go to vote, it says pick 14. It should say up to 14. You don't have to vote 14, and you don't have to vote 3. It'll
Right.
say that. You can vote 1. If you don't know the person, I wouldn't vote for them, because this is too
Absolutely.
important to do that. So.
You mentioned Terry's an at-large candidate. Terry, you want to, some people may not be familiar with that idea of an at-large candidate. You want to explain that a little bit and who
Sure,
you're
of
running
course.
against, maybe?
Yeah, the difference, and I ran again. It was I guess back in 2020, and it was a congressional district at that point, and you have an easier time because you're consolidating your votes. People know you more in just those congressional districts. So this time around, I was chosen Donald Trump. He picked, I don't know if you can see this, but he gave us letters, trying to make it where you can see it. He gave us letters where his campaign decided who was going to be on the ballot. So that's how this all came about. And so he authorized our ballot. There are 28 of us that are running against the whole entire state from one side of it to the other for at-large candidate. I am a committed. They ask you if you want to be committed to Trump or an uncommitted. I am solidly, unwavering, unapologetically committed to Donald Trump for delegate. Should I win this? And hopefully I will. Like Tess said, you have the opportunity to vote. It'll say up to 14, I believe, but feel free to just vote that number 1 right there. If you see on the screen where it says Terri Nicholson, that increases my chances of having a successful campaign and being chosen as delegate for Trump. So, but it's been great. You get to talk from one side of the state to the other, and I've met a lot of nice people and great friends such as yourselves helping me campaign, because obviously I can't be in every county all the way across the state between now and, well, March. The election day is coming up. So the last day of early voting is the 27th.
That's
so
tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow is your last day. And then our election day, you can also vote. So it's been, it's interesting. We'll see. There's some names on there that I'm not familiar with that actually a lot of people, we're not sure some of these names. So like Tess said, if you don't know the person, then, don't push the button for them. Stick with the one such as Terri Nicholson.
And Tess Robbins.
But you're not at large. You're going to be on.
Yeah.
Now, how many people do you have running against
There's
you?
6.
6 against
and I'm
you?
on the bottom. I'm easier to find than Terry, because at least I can say I'm on the very bottom. And I've known Terry, and I voted for Terry, and only for Terry. I've known her. She is just full-hearted. She's everything she says she is, and even more. I admire her.
Yes.
She is. She's said she'll do what she says she'll do, and she'll fight for you.
Absolutely.
And she'll fight for. And she and I are a lot alike. We don't set our principles. God sets our principles. We do everything that we do, we follow His principles, not our own.
So for your race, do you know who are the other people that you're running against?
I do know one, and he's a good guy, Mr. Butler from Carroll County.
Right.
He's the mayor. He's number 1. I'm not going to help him because he's number 1.
Right.
No, he is a really good guy. There, no doubt. I have a lot of respect for him. So the other ones, I don't know. And I'm pretty well known in our district. I feel like in our Senate district anyway, but I don't know them, and they may be just like me. I don't know, but I know Mr. Butler is he's the mayor of Carroll County. He's a really good guy.
Terry, you said that some of the candidates are uncommitted. I'm surprised they'd be allowed to be uncommitted.
Yeah, they. If you go and you look on the ballot, I wish I had a sample ballot, but you'll go on there and you'll look and you'll see our names. And obviously it goes alphabetical order, and that goes for the actual presidential candidates as well. So you'll see Ron DeSantis's name on there, then you'll see Nikki Haley, and then you'll see Donald Trump at the end there. And underneath Donald Trump, you'll see our names who are running at large, and it'll say committed, or uncommitted. And you won't see that many that are uncommitted. Most of us are committed, but you will see a few that are uncommitted. And I'm not as familiar with what exactly how that entails. I certainly would never want to be uncommitted, but I believe what that means is in the event that somebody else, in other words, you're not 100% committed to voting for Donald Trump regardless of anything. That is how I interpret that to mean. So I think there may be 3 at most who signed up under that uncommitted, but the rest of us are fully committed to casting our vote for Donald Trump.
So wait a minute. So it's a Trump delegates. These are people running for Trump delegate, but they're uncommitted.
There's probably 3.
Whoever allowed that should be committed. That's just that makes no sense. That's crazy to me. But okay, I certainly I wouldn't vote for anybody uncommitted. I mean, regardless of who I was supporting, to vote for somebody who's uncommitted. Like you said, also don't vote for somebody you don't know.
Yes.
You know. So for the at large, yeah, you definitely got my vote.
Thank you, Dave. I appreciate it. And Tess, thank you so much.
You got my vote. I only voted 1.
No, unfortunately, I can't vote for you because I'm in a different district than you, but you are my SEC rep and you do a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So if y'all are elected, they are going to do the RNC is going to vote on a new platform. Now, I've actually got this listed as platform development, but you told me that y'all aren't necessarily developing the platform. So who's going to develop the platform?
Well, right now you have a 66-page platform. The Republican National Committee, our National Party, we have a 66-page platform, and it's extremely conservative principles. It's just been comprised of all the different conservative principles. And then your RNC, we have 2. They will vote and they help, I guess we want to say, they probably lobby the different principles with the rest of the RNC members. We have 2 from each state. So that is how that works. Now, from what I understand, and again, this would be my first time if elected as delegate, some of us would be elected to the platform committee. I hope I'm getting this straight. And those people, if elected to the platform committee, will be the ones to vote on what is proposed or taken away or arguing, which I would love to do to keep the conservative principles intact. So it depends on if they elect us or not after we're established as delegates. You've got to be a delegate first before you get on this committee to fight for the platform. And like I said, right now it's conservative. I'm fearful from what I've heard in the rumor mill that there are several from up north that are wanting to make it more big tent to where we incorporate more pro-LGBT, more pro-choice, abortions under attack, things like that. Probably some red flag laws that they want to support or have the Republicans in here. Clearly down here in the South, that does not fly. And I've spoken very passionately on that amongst my fellow Republicans to let them know. So we're all very much in favor of the conservative principles.
Well, the people that want to change the platform to that, they're in the wrong party. The Democrats already have the God-hating, fag-loving, baby-killing thing covered down. So people just need to go join that party because that's not the GOP.
That's correct.
So let me ask a couple questions here. So this is originally the 2016 platform, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Now, what you mentioned the 2 RNC members from Tennessee. What do we know about them?
Well, they'll be the ones to essentially go down. They're elected, and they'll be the ones to go and represent the state of Tennessee for the Republican National Committee.
Okay. So we don't currently have those. There's nobody currently in those positions then?
There is. We currently have 2, and they will be serving until their term is up.
Okay. And their term expires?
This year.
Okay. Oh, like December or something?
I believe December.
Okay. All right. So they're going to be on the platform committee no matter what. They're going to be part of that development. No,
they have to be, from what I understand, they would have to be selected as well. So you would have the delegates who are named delegate, the ones who win as delegates. Those people, from what I understand, the delegates will vote for the different people to serve on that platform. So I don't think it'll necessarily, they would have to go through the same process that we do. That's how I understand it.
Okay. And the platform will be completed by?
Hopefully, you have to be out there in Milwaukee 1 week before the convention starts. And Tess, correct me, is that July the 14th? Is that when we're flying out? Tess and I have already bought our plane.
July 14th. We've already,
Okay.
a few of us have already got our airline tickets
In
to
hopes
go.
that we win.
Okay.
And I, of course, March 8th is when there'll be, because Ronna McDaniel and Drew McKissick both have announced that they will step down from their position, which they're the president and the chair and vice chair of the RNC, that they're both stepping down on March 8th.
Okay.
So I don't know what that part will play with the new, I know that President Trump is requested that Michael Whatley as chair and Laura Trump as co-chair, where Michael Whatley currently serves as the chair of the North Carolina GOP and has a lot of experience in the Republican politics. So
Now, but every state will have somebody on this platform committee, right?
I'm sure they'll do it some fair way. It can be complex, I'm sure, but I feel good that they'll have a good fair way to choose, and that's the reason it's important that you choose the correct delegate to
Right.
you vote for the right one, because if you want somebody that's Christian oriented, everything, and that would be myself and Terri, and even Mr. Butler, the mayor, he is. I feel like I can speak for him, but I'm telling you, that's all I know for sure. So that's very important when they go and do the platform. And right now we do have a conservative platform, but honestly, for me, it's never conservative enough, and we have to also make sure that our candidates are following the platform.
Oh, yeah.
When they do bills, and that's another story, but or a problem that we should hold people up to taking care of the platform and everything that they do.
Okay. So what, Terri, have you heard about any specific changes? Oh, you mentioned some a minute ago that you're hearing, that some of the changes they want to make to the platform. You want to hit on that a little bit?
I have. I've heard the two main ones that they want to, and I'm just going to say it, Dave, that some of the Republicans are wanting to weaken the platform from a conservative to, like I said, more liberal, big tent. They want to focus more on pro-choice. They also are in favor of, they're not in favor of marriage between a man and a woman. They're more in favor of the LGBTQ rights and bringing that in. Like I said, they're very much in favor of a big tent policy. And, that type of mindset, that type of values, beliefs, it also, falls into the different states as well. So you might even see that in some of the legislators. So that is where, like you said, it's very important that we elect the delegates who are conservative and who will uphold the platform. And I like to say they uphold the platform for the people. So you want delegates that are going to represent the people and not themselves, because that is what the people of Tennessee expect. They want a conservative, very conservative. I can't speak for the ones up north, but I do know the ones I spoke with in Seattle, they were very much quite opposite from us. So, the Republican Party sometimes takes on a new identity at times. It seems like when you have more liberals coming over, I will just say it also, crossover voting is becoming a huge issue in the Republican Party, and not just in Tennessee, but everywhere. We're seeing a lot of that, and a lot of the Democrats are just very vocal and happy to admit that. Some of them being like, for Nikki Haley, they said, hang in there. After Super Tuesday, we can start voting for her. So that right there was a red flag to me, is why would you want Democrats voting for you? That seems very problematic.
Yeah.
I think they're wanting to water down the conservative values, the Christian conservative values, and that's what they're wanting to start watering down. We don't know how extreme that's going to be during this voting process for the new platform, but they'll be wanting to water it down for sure.
Well, this whole big tent thing, that's a big part of the problem we already have in the
Yeah.
GOP.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
that's not going to end well. Not going to end well at all.
Right.
Like I say, we already have Democrats.
Exactly.
I don't understand. I don't even, and I hope, I know we have problems here, even in red Tennessee, which really our government's purple, bottom line. Our state government is purple. We have a supermajority that is super in number only, and you guys know this because you follow legislation as well. I mean, we have a lot of people who are just flat out not conservative on anything. And so it's frustrating. And that's why, like I say, supermajority, we've had it for over 10 years, and look how hard it is to get anything decent through our legislature. Even with, anything bad that happens in our state legislatively, or anything good that doesn't happen in our state is the fault of the GOP. The Democrats, they don't have a voice. They're basically the phone booth club. So the GOP owns all the failures in terms of passing conservative legislation. And so it's just irritating to hear that we want to do this whole big tent thing and make it worse.
I think that, Dave, what I saw the most that was disturbing, it goes back to what the red flag law, the special called meeting that the governor wanted this past summer, and our legislators that came in to address that situation. I spoke with several, and they were very upset about it. They did not feel like it was needed. However, I also saw a lot of legislators who took that opportunity to start throwing a lot of bills and using that particular time to address the situation that they felt was going to be similar, what they wanted to craft a red flag law to look like. And that was a very big red flag to me, was to see that. So either you support the constitutional amendment or you don't. It's one of those two things. And you can't, if you're going to water it down and you're going to make gun control and you want to make it applicable to some people and not to others, it's very problematic. So regarding the Tennessee GOP, regarding the Tennessee legislators, I'm very hopeful that they will return to full conservative principles in our legislation. And we, like you said, we don't need any fluff, and we certainly do not need any type of red flag laws.
Absolutely. So let's talk a little about the SEC, the State Executive Committee for the GOP. So what's the purpose? Because a lot of people out there probably don't actually understand what the purpose of the SEC is. What is it you guys do?
Terri is on the bylaws committee. There's several things that we do. We should be making sure in our own district that people that's running as Republicans are actually bona fide Republicans.
Yep.
I had a call with one of our chairs and said, look, I've got to know names of people that's picking up papers to run. I'm all about making sure you're bona fide.
Okay.
And which is 3 out of the 4 last state elections. Primary elections. And also you need to be active. And being active can be paying your dues, going to meetings regularly. You can donate to the Tennessee GOP. But we need to make sure that the people picking up papers are actually bona fide Republicans. I've seen cases that they weren't.
Right.
Even at state rep level, and where it's county commission, or not. So if we're not watching that's something we each should be doing in our own district. But we're also on committees. I'm on the permanent election committee. Okay. And we've had Zoom calls with Mark Goins, and I actually was on a Zoom call with Ronna McDaniel and concerning election. There's a lot of things that the RNC does that people don't realize when it comes to elections. Like in New York, they were trying to legalize for illegals to be able to vote, and we took the RNC, took them to court sued them and kept that from happening. In South Carolina and North Carolina, like they wanted to extend absentee ballots, one of those, I forget if it was North Carolina or South Carolina, wanted to extend the time for absentee ballots to be turned into weeks after the election.
Yeah.
And then, or in one of those two states, they wanted to where you didn't have to prove, you didn't have to sign, you didn't have to prove who you were, show any ID, and for the absentee ballots, and the RNC took them to court for that and won. So there, it's like you're getting. I've said this before. You get one set of balloons. Pulled down and another set's going.
Whack-a-mole.
Yeah, there's all kinds of shady stuff that, the Democrats are trying to pull. And the RNC, I think, has done a better job at protecting us there than people probably realize.
Okay. So now, on the 27th of January, you guys had a meeting in Nashville, Terri, and there was a vote over the whole bona fide issue. And I think let's talk about what the standard was and what you guys were able to get it changed to, or what you were able to maintain. Because I know there was another vote earlier in the year and there was some confusion. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all, I just want to make sure that, like you said, who is the SEC? And it's not football. It's not pertaining to that. I just want to make sure that's clear because, like you said, a lot of people are not familiar with what the SEC is and what we do. So we are the governing body of the Tennessee Republican Party. Right. And we have two of us that represent, our counties and so forth, Tess and Ryan. So what we do is we are the go-between between the county executive committees and the state party. So what we do is we communicate with our local parties and they communicate with us. And then we also address, like Tess mentioned, the whole, the voter, the integrity of it. Political committee that she's on is very important. I sit on the bylaws committee, which, is a heated committee, but I want to make sure everybody knew what we do on that. So it's very similar. We have our committees and different rules and bylaws are made in there and initiatives in the other committees. And then if it passes our bylaws committee or whichever committee it falls under, it will go to the full body of the SEC to vote. So it operates very similar to what you see in the General Assembly. Regarding the meeting, the infamous meeting in January 27th, yes, there was a previous vote that was taken. Let me back up to how this all originated. In September, we had a Zoom meeting and we were voting on bona fide status and when it was applicable and whatnot. So that was the Zoom meeting had taken place, and then there was a little bit of confusion as you normally can get with Zooms. So in December, we had some members who wanted to call a special meeting so that we could discuss the initiatives that were confusing on the Zoom call. We had issues. Some people we couldn't get on. There were some technical issues, things like that. So
what was I'm sorry. What was the result of the vote in September? What was the outcome?
Oh gosh, I don't have that with me, but I know I was one of them. I think there were 13 of us that voted no, and the overwhelming 37 voted yes. And that was I'm trying to remember. That was for having the bona fide status when it was going to be applicable. 3 of 4, 2016 or 2024, 2022. Did I get that?
2024 or 2026, right?
Where it would immediately begin from the time of
our
vote.
Okay.
Yes, and I voted with Terri to where it would start immediately.
Right.
Okay, but or wait and let it start in 2026.
Right.
I would have went back years but Terri and I both voted the same on that.
It didn't make sense to me, Dave. I didn't understand why you would skip an election process and have something. Usually whenever we vote on something, any type of an amendment, a bylaw, a rule, I've always interpreted and understood that we make it effective when we vote on it. So in my mindset, that is how I believe. And so it came down to, we had enough members to have a special meeting, and that was called January the 27th. And it was over at the Tennessee History and Archives building, Tess. I think I'm right on.
Yes, yes.
And
the
it was a very split vote. I mean, it was right down the middle as far as that goes. We needed 3 votes to make sure that the bona fide status was applicable at the right time, and we did not extend it out to 26. It needed to be, where there was no time that passed. And I spoke on it, and my biggest concern was a very simple one. I said that we do not need to give any Democrats a reprieve. I know that we talk even in Tennessee GOP how they want more of a big tent policy, and let's, bring people, let's not punish somebody who voted Democrat. Let's not punish the Democrats. And I thought for a minute, why would you want to punish the Republican in favor of a Democrat? Maybe we should go back and look at that and why you want to say that. Why is that particular person wanting to protect and give a reprieve to a Democrat versus let's, make sure that we reward and we keep up our Republicans that follow the rules and bylaws. To me, that is what's important. That is what our voters expect of us. They expect Republicans representing them and not giving reprieve to Democrats. And having said that, and I don't want to take up too much time, but the Democrats that have, quote, seen the light, that's wonderful. But you need to come over and vote at least 3 out of 4 consecutive Tennessee statewide primaries. Right. You can't just do it once and then expect it to be called an active Republican. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, well, I don't know why anybody would feel like they're entitled to run for office as a Republican just because they've maybe voted in one election. I mean, 3 out of 4, let's think about that for a minute. You could actually have 4 out of 4 right now, and you could have been an Obama and a Hillary voter, okay, and still be bona fide. So I don't understand this thought that, okay, as soon as somebody votes in a GOP election one time, now we want to make them a candidate and support them. That's just crazy. But now you guys took the vote, you won, but it was really close. It's 32 to 29 or something like that?
We needed 3 votes to secure a win, and that is exactly what we had, was 3 votes. So it was very tight. It was, I'll just go ahead. I actually prayed before we went in that, please, Lord, turn the hearts that you need. It's very important. A lot of people may think it wasn't important, but it is important because you're talking about representatives, Republican representatives who are going to represent you, the voters that vote for us. So, you want good, solid Republicans in these positions, constitutional conservatives, people that believe in the foundation of what we stand for. And it's all applicable. It all ties in together. So it was a very important vote to me, to Tess, and a lot of others.
And it was hard for me to think that someone could be a congressman that voted for Biden. I just, and I didn't know how it would affect anything. Okay, but like I said, I would go back 10 more years.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
If the very bare minimum, 2016, when everything started getting that President Trump was exposing everything that these Democrats have been doing, shady deals, and it's so bizarre now, and watching what's going on. But especially at that particular day when Texas is fighting at the border, really having a civil war at the border against our Biden and his administration. Yeah. So I would feel like I was betraying a big betrayal to the people that to the other Republicans that have been staunch Republicans and vote and supported other Republicans, and if you voted for Biden, I'm sorry, that I can remember a time at my age, I'm older than Terri, but where there could be some middle ground, from Democrat. I've been a Republican, but that I could still understand some of the middle ground, but especially since 2015, 14, and even before, but the middle ground is not there anymore. No. There's no middle ground. You're either this or you're that. And that's the reason I voted the way that I did.
Yeah. So the ones that were opposing this, what level did they want? Did they want anybody to have just maybe voted once or twice, or they just want to be able to make the call, okay, we believe this person now and now they can run? Is that what the people who didn't support this, was that their position?
I didn't really ask too much about, their reasoning why. I was focused more on my passion for being a Republican and making sure that we reward Republicans that follow the rules. And, we've had a lot of darts thrown at us in regards to bylaws and rules and what they mean. And a lot of times it goes down to people from the outside, how they interpret them or what they, what they think it should mean and what it includes. And I always encourage anybody who's wanting to run for office, whether it be Congress, whatever, please come and look at the bylaws. If you have any questions on the state GOP website, it'll show you bylaws and rules. All they've got to do is go on there, click on it, and it will show them what their requirements are. When it says 3 of 4 most consecutive Tennessee GOP or Tennessee statewide primaries, that means that you have to have voted in 3 out of 4 of the most recent statewide primaries in our state. So if you have not done that, then you need to make sure that you vote when you have the opportunity so you can meet that requirement. If you say, I didn't know, or I'm only a 2 of 4, but, that becomes, you start getting into a lot of areas that are problematic. So what I would do is encourage anybody who's wanting to run for Congress is to please make sure that you have voted 3 out of 4 of the most recent statewide primaries when you want to run. And I think that's fair. If you're going to represent the people, you need to vote with the people. You don't need to go in there and say, hey, I've only voted here. I'm a good conservative. That's great. You may be, but please come and vote and then run for office.
Yeah. And I think there has been some inconsistencies on the part of the SEC, which has caused some of the problems. But a lot of people don't realize that since 2020, which was the year that we had some people vouch for a known Democrat, a known anti-Trumper, blatant homosexual to run against a bona fide Republican. I mean, a lot of people remember that. And of course, at that time, that decision was the chairman's. That was Scott Golden's decision. And he made that in opposition to, I think, most of the SEC. So people remember that. And then they see some things that have happened since then. Other people that, okay, they weren't allowed. So they make kind of the wrong, and that was a serious issue. That really made a lot of people mad when that happened. But you guys instituted rules to change that where it's no longer on the chairman, okay, to do that. But a lot of the people on the outside looking in don't really know that. And so when they know that, they remember that happening. And then since then, they may have been told, well, so-and-so was not allowed to run. And so they just assumed the worst. So I've kind of watched the SEC for a little while now. Overall, I don't have a good opinion, but I'm pretty far to the right. I got that. But I will say this, the SEC has more conservatives in it now than it ever has. Okay, we still have a long way to go in my opinion, but it has more conservatives than it ever had. You have to have rules. You have to have some sort of standard. So the people out there that were backing certain people and that person was deemed to be not bona fide and couldn't run, a lot of those people just assume, oh, well, that's just all the rhinos in the SEC. And there's no shortage of them, don't get me wrong, but that's not always the case. We still have to have a standard. And I think the problem for the SEC is making sure that standard is implemented consistently across the board.
Yeah, it is. And we're working very hard on that and trying to make sure that we have rules and standards that we don't need to necessarily go back and revisit every single election. We want to make them to where they're good, solid, bona fide requirements, easy to interpret.
Right.
And like I said, they give you an opportunity. There are rules and bylaws that give you an opportunity to vote to represent the people. And that's ultimately what we're there to do, is we're here to represent and make decisions for those who elected us. And that job is always for the people and not for ourselves. When it becomes the opposite, then you have an issue.
Right. Now, I want to talk a little bit about internal stuff in the SEC. So right now, we have these auxiliary groups, and they have them in some counties, and of course we have them at the state level. For instance, the log cabin Republicans, we have them, and I think we have some different women's groups. So these auxiliary groups, we don't have a say in their internal affairs, why is it they have a vote at county level or even at the state level on what the SEC is going to do?
It's a good question.
It's a very good question, and I feel it's something that we need to discuss within our governing body of the Republican Party, because I know there's a lot of concerns that have come up. There's a lot of, in the future, are we going to have platform disagreements over what our platform is based on any type of auxiliary group? These are all very important things to discuss. And Dave, you brought up an excellent point. We do not sit on their boards and do not make any decisions for their organizations. So how is that, fair, or, should it be reciprocated, whatnot? So Excellent question. I don't have the answer for that one yet, but I do know that it's something that needs to be discussed, just so we can make sure there's no, it needs to be fair and it needs to be consistent.
And when you have two different platforms and you're trying to do one committee, which is the GOP, but then your platform of your auxiliary is totally different than, who you're representing. Honestly, with the SEC, I really respect everybody on there. It's amazing, really, what we get done, and what in the short time but you can have two people with, if you've got 4 other officers that were elected. The chair, the vice chair, the treasurer, these people were elected.
Right.
And by their people, where auxiliaries just get that job, without doing anything. Yeah. But it can cause havoc, and when you're trying to decide something, and you can, even if it's a smaller amount of people, it might take you longer to get, with 8 people, get something done because of the difference of platform and difference in opinion, where like at 66, of us are really trying for the same thing. We may have a difference in opinion on how that needs to happen, but I think it can cause havoc in a executive committee. Yeah.
Well, and along those lines, so when you have a change of leadership, you get a new chair and co-chair. Well, the outgoing chair is then part of the county executive committee.
Yes.
Well, I think maybe that needs to be looked at as well, because let's say they have a little different idea. One of them's a big tenor, and one of them's hey, let's stick by let's make a good, strong conservative platform. So I think maybe that's an issue as well, as maybe they need to be an advisory position, but maybe they don't need to have a vote on the committee. That's just my thought. And I do want to give some kudos, because I don't do that a lot, but I do appreciate that the SEC, I think they did a no red flag resolution. So you did do that. I was surprised. It was a pleasant surprise that they did a resolution in support of the nullification legislation that Representative Halsey and Senator Bowling, and that was, I was surprised that it passed and surprised it was unanimous, but I was glad to hear that. So it's not a total loss. It can be improved, but people have to understand you've got to vote. We have these elections for SEC. Every time every 2 years we have them for the SEC, correct? It's every 2 years.
Every 4 years.
Every 4 years. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So now in December, the chairman will be up for election, right?
I don't know. Is that this December? I don't.
I'm
is that every
sure.
2 years, right? So it would be this December.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so currently the chairman is Scott Golden. I hear that I think Chris Morris is interested in that position. I think that would definitely take us in a more conservative direction. You don't have to comment on that, put yourself on the spot.
I'm sure. I just didn't know about that.
I'm just doing my plug here. That
I didn't know about that.
So
I
anyway.
didn't know about that either.
So anyhow, that's just something to think about. Any other concerns about the SEC, or any other thing that you want the public to understand about the SEC? Either one of them.
Other than just let them know that we're not about, maybe in the past, they had a different, I think a lot of the legislators and even probably people in the state had no idea, or they didn't really take us serious. Maybe they didn't see that the SEC was something that was as involved as we are right now. And my fellow members that I serve with are extremely involved. They will attend education meetings with us in the legislature. I've worked with Charlotte Kelly. She's amazing. She's worked great on the education. She's been, very instrumental in that. With Cindy Miller's another one who has worked great with us on pro-life. It's just been, a lot of us are very active and very engaged with the legislature and bills and everything that comes through. And that's something that I don't think the SEC had been involved with much. And Chairman Golden did say, this was our very first term. He said, this group, when we came in, he said by far the most active as far as being involved. In my opinion, it's more than just shaking hands with important people and eating rubber chicken dinners. It's a whole lot more than that. It's, it's about, a whole lot more. So I think that they are learning that we are becoming more involved as we should. In our party and with the people and those who elect us, the voters, taxpayers, and our legislators. Yeah. So hopefully they will understand that we're here to get involved with that as well and help where we can.
Yeah. I got a question, and you may not be able to answer this, but a few years ago, one of the things that we always have the issue of is closing the primaries. And most conservatives want the primaries closed, and most rhino liberal Republicans want them to be kept open so they can stay in office. Matter of fact, the first year that Bill Lee was in office, the SEC voted to close the primaries. Now, I don't know, were you in the SEC then, Terri?
She was. Mm-hmm.
I was. Yeah.
And, I'd always heard in the past, well, if the SEC makes a resolution to close the primaries, just send it to the legislature and we'll do it. Well, that's not what happened. Now, that was right after Governor Lee took over. My understanding was he didn't want that. So after being told this all those years, our supermajority voted against closing the primaries. I got an issue with that, but here's my question. The GOP, or the Republican Party, whatever you want to call it, we're a private entity. We're not a state entity. Mm-mm. Why does the legislature get to decide whether or not we have open or closed? Why do they have a say in it at all? I mean, do you know? I mean, I'm just curious.
Now, I know that they, even like whether or not to close primaries, things like that, it goes through them based off the laws, the election laws that they vote on, and so forth. So it has been problematic. We've sent the resolution to close primaries, I think 2-3 times, I believe, so far. And for whatever reason, it can't get out of committee. And I found that extremely problematic because closing primaries, actually, it's saying, hey, we are voting here. We're having people that want to vote for Republican and choose our Republican candidates. Democrats do the exact same thing. Yeah. I have yet to understand why it's such an issue, why you would fight against somebody knowing where they stand as a Republican, unless, like you said, there's confusion. Maybe somebody's taken the wrong turn and needs to turn to the left. Anything like that. But it's very important that you make sure that you vote for your Republicans and you do not need to open that up and have Democrats come into your primaries. It's problematic all the way around. Yeah. So I have a big issue with that, Dave. Our closed primaries, we need to get them. I said we need to keep sending the resolution. And if the legislators keep saying no, eventually it's going to register with them when they get primaried themselves and have people run against them. And it may take 2 or 3 different terms. I'm not sure. But eventually, if Democrats are organizing and wanting to run in Republican primaries, it's just a matter of time before they will also want to run for their seat. Yeah. Yeah. So I think that we need to be very careful about not supporting party registration and closed primaries. Right.
Well, and another thing I don't agree with, I don't agree with the state paying for primary elections. I think each party, you pay for yours or you do a caucus, whatever. I don't like the thought of tax dollars going to a Democrat primary. I really don't even like it for ours. I think as a private entity, either we pay for it or we do caucuses. Something. That's just my personal opinion. But anyway, any other concerns? Anything else you want to say about the SEC, good, bad, or ugly? So.
Just make sure you vote for us if you don't mind.
And vote for Trump, please. There's a lot of people that aren't voting, and but Trump needs your vote?
Well, he's the best option out there. He's a tourniquet at best, but I tell you what, we're going to need him. But once again, I'm a states guy, so I think if we don't fix it at the state, we won't save it long term. But if we don't get him in there, we're certainly not going to have any top cover for anyone.
That's exactly right.
So, hey, thank you both for coming on. Good luck, and I hope you win out. But we got a little special song here by my friend Jerry Anderson. I don't know if you know, I'm not singing. I'm not singing. That's not happening. Anyway, we've got the producer back there. He's gonna key this up. It's got a little video with it. It's on YouTube, and it's ready to go ahead and play it there, please, Mr. Producer.
Some of y'all never been down south to Atlanta too much. Well, I'm going to tell you about this crazy woman. You'll understand what I'm talking about. Down there we got a crooked DA who thinks she's really hot stuff in her field. Got an IQ something like a turnip green. They all hate her, so ain't no joke. Behind her back, they all call her Poke Salad Fanny. She tried to put Donald Trump in jail down there, but everybody saw right through her lickety-split. Boy, did she make a big mess of it. Sex with her boyfriend prosecutor, fake news to woke suckers, and that's about all they can do besides cheat. She thinks that's all right. Down in Atlanta, Georgia, there's a corrupt DA so mean, you'd swear to the world this nutcase girl would make CNN ashamed. Poke Salad Fanny, yeah. Poke Salad Fanny. Crooked China Joe told her, make sure Trump is framed. She may be heading for her own chain gang. A wretched, spiteful, Trump-hating, race-baiting kind of woman. Lord have mercy, she made a mess of it. Wow. Poke Salad Fanny. Did Wade say she's a tranny? Crooked Joe told her, make sure Trump is framed. Looks like she's heading for her own chain gang. That wretched, spiteful, Trump-hating, race-baiting kind of woman. Lord have mercy. Prosecuting, persecuting Trump. She made a mess of it. Woo-hoo. A gator couldn't bite her fanny, even if he opened wide. Poke Salad Fanny. She and Biden both made a mess of it, but Crooked China Joe killed the Keystone Pipeline, caused war in Ukraine, invasion of our southern border, election interference, spying on Trump, who exposed them, and their corrupt deep state. Now our country's in real trouble, and Crooked China Joe and people like Poke Salad Fanny are the ones who made a real mess of it.
That's Jerry Anderson in Tennessee. That's on YouTube already. So, hey, once again, thank you for being with us. I want to thank everybody for taking time to watch our program. Please be sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons as well as the notification bell to stay informed about our upcoming shows. As a reminder, you can now listen to us on podcasts at Spreaker.com. Find all the audio-only podcasts of your favorite episodes on our website, tninformer.com, or do a search for TN Informer on Spreaker.com, where you can also download the Spreaker app for Android or Apple phones. We're excited to announce Tennessee Informer podcasts are now available to listen to on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, and several other podcast platforms. Take a moment to check out and follow our Facebook page, Tennessee Informer. We'll be posting news and information about upcoming shows, as well as our website, tninformer.com, where you can sign up for a weekly newsletter. We're also on Twitter at twitter.com/tinformer. Share us with your friends so they can stay informed. Our guest next week will be Clay Doggart. Hope you'll join us. That's it for now. Good night from Paris, Tennessee, that is.